Hi, thank you for choosing this channel as your creative choice. I recently bought a pad of paper and some pencils and an electric pencil sharpener for those art pencils so I can get back into my traditional drawing again. For me, that is an outlet that I can use to express some of the creative thoughts and things I have, the images I can put down on paper. And yeah, doing it on the computer is fine. It's been beautiful and wonderful. I just miss a little bit of that tactile feel of the pencil, and I don't want to lose the muscle memory. I'm already rusty enough as it is. I need to get back into practice. Maybe on future videos, I can show you some of the progress, and if you would like to begin drawing, or you already draw and you want to refine something you're already doing, or who knows, maybe you have awesome suggestions for me, that can be something that comes a little bit later. Today's talk is about this thing with children's programming and a lot of images changing. I don't want to pick specifically on CoComelon. They're just kind of at the forefront as being one of the most popular. But I saw a video recently where they were changing the background out a lot, and that always keeps the visual interest. But I've mentioned this before, and that is they did studies where they bring in psychologists their company hires to make sure they're building a better mousetrap. That mousetrap is to keep the attention as long and as fixated on their program as they can by use of colors, sounds, fast changes, not just with the background, but also just going back and forth between images. And it kind of hijacks the brain. Now, how do I see this in my world is I'm helping young learners acquire a language skill like English. If I show up to their place where they're about to have class and they have the Chinese cartoons playing and it's talking super fast, it's just goofy slapstick stuff, I'm not opposed to children watching funny things. What do you think happens when we turn that off? Well, if you've ever seen any child that loses a chance to hold an electronic device, there's sometimes that emotional reaction. But when they get older, they tend to mask it a lot better. However, when they are trying to speak a foreign language, it's like they mentally shut down, and getting them out of that is like pulling somebody out of a pit. And I'm not talking about children who have never performed well. I'm saying children I've seen how they've done well, and then after watching their performance after being exposed to a fast-paced program, it just goes downhill super fast. Now they can snap out of it, it's just temporary. But the more we're exposed to something, the greater impact and longer hold that it has. This isn't just for children. Well, as you probably know, there's places in this world like Silicon Valley that have hired people for the last couple of decades on building and developing apps that get certain responses. Like how often are you looking at your phone when it makes a certain noise, or there's an update on your social media post and you want to check it out? How much of control are you giving over to that, where it's choosing the time that you reply, it's choosing the time that you look, and just be aware of how much time you're taking and what is happening when you do it. On this channel, we talk about creating our world, that creative process. Well, something happens when you allow something external to influence the way that you think and come to your decisions. If you hear a lot of voices saying one thing, a lot of views that are kind of the same and pushing a certain direction, very convincing, very well-spoken voices, you may be inclined to just follow along with it. It takes a lot of effort to use critical thinking and actually do your own research and find out if what they're saying is factual. Maybe it's driven just by emotion or in the moment. Maybe they don't have all the information and they're giving you what's more like an editorial instead of the facts, nothing but the facts. Okay, and this is human nature. So just be aware, especially when you see big emotions. When you see big emotions, you know that somebody is going through something that's very real for them in that moment. And I'm not taking anything away from it. But before you jump on any kind of a bandwagon and say, oh yeah, what they're saying is right and these other people are very wrong, it's very, very valid to look more into it if you really want to investigate something like this for yourself. Don't take it at face value. I say that when you see big emotions. Big emotions can be very deceptive because we all have emotions. We're all drawn by emotions. And the emotions in themselves are not a bad thing. But logic doesn't come into play when our emotions get out of control. Okay? Okay, so it's just a general reminder that all the stuff that's going on outside is going to affect us in here. So use this as a little bit of caution that you don't always give over your time to any kind of external factor, whether it's your electronic device or social media. I'll give you this example. Think about the quality time you spend with people. I marveled again as I see families sitting together to eat a meal, and every family member is on like their own smartphone, even the 6-year-old daughter. Okay, so at some point, where are they making this connection? How often do we have a chance to spend time together? Maybe you've gone to somebody's house and you go in to see them. They know you're coming. It's a planned visit. You're looking forward to seeing the person. When you come in the door, you're in the living room. You're meeting them. The television is on. It stays on. The volume stays up. You're kind of, I don't want to say playing second fiddle, but you're secondary. Why? Because the television, remember, the programming on TV is programmed to get your attention, keep you watching, bring up the views, and try to keep everyone tuned in. So you are competing with everything. And if you're the person who's invited someone over and you've just left the television on, hey, if people are coming over to watch a movie, I get it. But if it's just your background noise, be aware that that background noise can and will grab their attention. And if the focus is supposed to be in a conversation or developing anything you're trying to work on together, like collaborative, all that's going to do is detract and distract from what you could accomplish. You're just going to be a little less effective. How often are you looking at your phone? How often do you find your gaze distracted and looking at something else, not really plugged into the person? Now, do you need to have that stare the whole time? Of course not. But if you're there to visit with them in the limited time that we have, you understand that these electronic devices are all pulling for your attention, and it comes off as a little bit impolite. Keep in mind that all of this exterior stuff, all these dopamine hits, all of the reactions, chemical reactions that are happening in your mind, jumping all those neurons, well, how much of a creative process are you going to experience while you are running along somebody else's path? Not long ago, on a walk where I was thinking back over my day, and I remembered a YouTuber that I watched. And sadly, I was having to put a filter on because of the garbage they were saying. And it took a while to weed those things out of my mental garden. Be aware that things try to plant seeds in your mind. And if it's not the kind of stuff you want in there, you have to be an active gardener and go and till those fields, pull those things out. Figure out, okay, why am I remembering this? Do I want this? And don't keep it there if it's not something that's getting you closer to your goal or in the mindset you want to be in. Some stuff is just negative. There are some things that I have watched and I regret to this day that I ever saw them. And it was on things that seemed harmless, like a television show or a series I was watching, but they just made some choices with the elements and the scenes. The writers made some very dramatic choices. And now I'm stuck with that. Some of that I can flush out. Some of it stays there to a point. I try not to dwell on it, but some things can never be unseen. If you know what I mean? Yeah. So knowing that, when you go into something where you start to see things you really don't want in there, it takes a strong person to recognize and turn off the television or go into the other room if people are going to watch something that you don't want in here. It can be things that are very violent. It can be word choices that you don't agree with at all. You don't have to allow that to get in. Okay, you can leave that place or you can turn it off. But again, it shows your strength and character if you can recognize what it is you want, what you're trying to do. So my encouragement is, as you go out to create your world, look for the factors that are outside that are trying to get inside. And I say you have a choice on what goes in and what stays in. Sometimes we don't have any control over exposure. It just happens. You walk around the corner, you see something that you didn't plan on seeing. It can happen to anyone. But what do you do after it's there? If it's something that's not going to help you, it's not going to make a better life for you, or something that could be negative to you, there's a huge value in recognizing that and purging, doing a little good gardening in your mind. Yeah? Don't allow the outside world to influence how and what and why you think. Take out the time, look stuff up, figure out what it is you believe in, and focus on the things that are going to help you improve in your creative journey. So until the next time, create your world.